Hello, Culture Matters podcast. Before I introduce you to our guest, here's two quotes that I had to pick that I think symbolize my friend that's coming on the show here. Victory belongs to the most persevering, Napoleon Bonaparte. And the second is, to exist is to change is to mature is to go on creating oneself endlessly. Henri Bergson. Those two quotes in my mind symbolize my dear friend Jefferson K. Rogers. Thanks for coming back. Shout out to our last episode, episode 101 of season 9 of the Culture Matters podcast. It's been some time. If you don't know Jefferson K. Rogers, you need to follow him on Instagram. That's number one. Number two, JKR Windows is a badass company culture. Jefferson's an investor, a podcaster, just real quick podcast you need to listen to, and a mentor and a coach. And I met him at a Dragon's Lair gym a couple years ago. And I was thinking, who is this guy? And now I know. And you're the man. So thanks for coming back. And wow, I'm so excited to see you, man. I can't believe it's been, almost 17 months since we did this.
That is wild. I appreciate you having me back on, man.
So I want to ask you about this. Well, first of all, what comes to mind when you hear, victory belongs to the most persevering? I think of that when I think of that, which is why I picked it, Napoleon Bonaparte.
Yeah. You know what? I think about all the majority of the successful people that I know didn't come easy for them. And they had to fight. They had to get their teeth kicked in so many times, and they just kept coming back for more. And they kept chasing their dreams and knowing that they could give in to defeat, or they could just keep pushing, and knowing that there was light at the end of the tunnel. I just got to keep pushing. I'm getting better, even though it doesn't seem like it's happening as fast as I want it to. I'm making progress. I have to trust that I'm making progress and just keep moving.
I mean, do you think there's a misconception of what it really takes to be successful? Because even in this time, as an entrepreneur, even in this time, we're in a different economy, right? The world is telling us that we should be struggling right now. So how does the audience take that quote and what you just said and look at this time as an opportunity, and not like they're losing, no matter what, every day they're losing. How do you view that?
I think losing it can never be an option. If you're stuck in that pattern and you've got those type of messages being repeated in your head, whether it's yourself or some other outside source that's telling you that, or it's just a limiting belief that you have, that's something that I think the successful people that I know, they just have the ability to tune those things out. And there's going to be influences from all directions telling you that you're not good enough, that it's tough right now, that the economy, the president, taxes, there's every excuse in the book why you could give in. But then there's also every excuse in the book why you should never give in. Yeah, I think it's, if anybody's listening to this and they're struggling with that, you've got to develop the ability to just tune it out. And it's not like you can just get rid of it. I still have as much as anybody does. I just tune it out, just turn it down like you're turning the volume down, and just start overpowering it with positivity and growth and building belief, and then the activity that's necessary for you to start making momentum and build confidence. What
type of activities are working for you now?
So for me, it's a lot of just the same stuff. It's like, you don't have to rewrite any books. You don't have to recreate the wheel. I just still did the same stuff that I was doing when I first started. It's now just at a different level, new perspective, new level of leadership and communication that I'm focused on. But I'm reading books, I'm listening to books, I'm using coaches and consultants. I'm asking my people for advice and asking for different perspectives, and how I show up for people is very important to me. And then I write my goals down, and I'm always focused on why I'm doing this. Because that's another important thing. Like, there is a misconception about what it takes to be successful, because most people won't put themselves through the agony, through the uncertainty, through the pain that it takes to become successful. And unless you have a strong reason why you're going to put yourself through all those things, that's why most people quit, because it's tough. In the line of business that I'm in, and the majority of guys that I know that have reached a higher level of success, it's not like they chose this career path or this opportunity because it was easy. They chose it because there was an opportunity and it was something that they could get fired up about. And then they were just willing to go through the pain and the agony and the uncertainty to be able to reach success.
I was listening to your podcast. Wait, is it Just Real Quick?
Yeah.
I like that. I like that name. And one of your guys was on. You guys sounded there was something special going on. How are you creating that? Because people listen to this and thinking, I need people. I hear it a lot. I need the right people.
Yeah.
So what's happening over there? And then you definitely have to talk about the business especially for those that haven't listened to episode 101. I'll keep shouting out. It's a different conversation between us. We talk about your business, but yeah, how are you cultivating your culture?
You know what? We're a people development company first. And I think people like that. They like to be a part of something. They like to have an opportunity for growth. And it's not just a monotonous thing that they show up to just to collect a check. And that's I think what a lot of times business owners get stuck on, is they're so stuck on how this helps them that they overlook all of the value that they need to bring with people to attract good people. And that's setting up a great culture and setting up great comp plans and incentives and bonuses and things that they can look forward to for a high level person to be able to stay in your business. You've got to have something for them to look forward to. A progression path, a leadership development program, training, access to advancements in their positions. And we've, I don't have it all figured out, but those are a lot of the things that we have tried to develop over the years to be able to attract high quality people, and then to take the people that we already have and nurture those relationships and develop them as better communicators and leaders. So we can, of course, have more value within our teams by pouring resources into our people, and they just continue to be able to offer more and more value. And then, one of the big goals as we grow and expand and need more people is we want to have a great culture, environment, incentives, comp plans to attract incredible people from other industries and other great companies to come join us, not just for money, because people will come join you with a great culture and environment and opportunities to be a part of for less money.
Have you seen that?
Absolutely.
Why do you think that is?
This is what your podcast is all about, man. It's
some people will be listening to this that they think we're crazy.
No, it's not all about the money. For the right people, it's not all about the money.
Was it how long did it take you to get used to being successful?
I'm still not used to it.
What's it like?
I'm still hard on myself every day. I'm never doing enough. I never give myself credit. I have a hard time celebrating. I'm still trying to figure it out. And I'm more successful than I was, but I still haven't gotten close to what I know my potential is and the level of success that I can reach. So sometimes I don't give myself much of a break.
For those that don't know, what's the business that you're in? How is it going? Right, because I know you've grown tremendously. Let me brag for you a little bit.
All right. Yeah, it's been great business, man. I grew up building houses with my dad. My dad was a general contractor, so I've been around home services and construction my whole life. I prided myself early on in having great quality of work, paying attention to details, and being able to figure things out. With no matter what kind of tools I had in front of me, I could always figure them out. And I've transitioned that into my own home services business now that I've been running for a little over 5 years. We do replacement windows. And we separate ourselves by offering a great culture and environment to be a part of, both on the sales side and the operations side. And I love being able to offer a customer experience for our customers that no other company is willing to even come close to. When it comes to initiating the conversation and building trust and rapport with them and educating them about what we do and how it's going to benefit them and all the pain in their life that they're experiencing as a result, and how we can be the solution to that, all the way through the process with communication, with service after the sale, with our warranties and our JKR guarantees. And we've grown pretty significantly, not as fast as I would have liked to have grown, but we're on pace for between 25 and $30 million in revenue this year.
Wow. 5 years?
And yeah, we got some big goals. I mean, my goals just continue to get bigger and bigger, but over the next 5 years, our plan is to be a $200 million annual revenue company that's preparing for an exit.
How does someone listen to this that is where you were 3 years ago? They made the leap and they're in it. They're in the blood and sweat.
Mm-hmm.
How do they wrap their head around what you're saying right now? You know, if you were talking to yourself then, because that's a vision you just cast.
Yeah.
Like, can they do it? Is he, you know what I'm saying?
You know what?
That's for him, not me.
What I've found out is not everybody can do it, but if you're already in it, that means you can. And where you're at right now is a direct result of your vision for the future and the time and attention that you've given getting involved with people that can help you stretch your vision. Because for me, there's no amount of writing my goals down that would have helped me create the vision that I have today without being involved with consultants and coaches and advisors, and surrounding myself with other business owners that just think at ridiculous levels about what's possible for them and the belief that they have in themselves. And at every level, you get exposed to people and circumstances that just make you think, like, why not me? If that guy can do it, why can't I do it? And he may be in a different industry, but look where he came from. Look at the troubles he went through, whether it was addiction or coming from a broken family or poverty, and they're doing all these amazing things. So why not me? And then you just keep stretching your vision about what's possible, the next level. And I'm kind of in this pattern right now of this 200 million, but that 200 million is on the edge of going to $1 billion. Like that to me is starting to become a small vision for what I want to try and accomplish. And for the activity and the people that I want to hire, this like the reverse engineering, what it's going to take to get to 200 million has gotten me to this point. And that's been a goal for the past year and a half, 2 years.
Wow.
But now for me to be able to really start stretching myself and doing what's necessary to reach the next level and to put the executives in place in my business that's going to help me be able to expand what's possible and bring the expertise to the table. You know, I think the next level is taking what $1 billion home services replacement window company looks like and reverse engineering that.
If we were to give a quick master class on how you go about reverse engineering, is it you, like, how do you do it? What, like, if the audience, right, where does he start?
Yeah, if you want to reverse engineer, if say you're at $1 million in revenue right now, you want to reverse engineer what it's going to take to get to 10 million. And that's for some people just a huge stretch. Maybe you've been doing $1 million for the past 3 or 4 years, and now it's just a huge stretch to even think about doing 2 million. But unless you're thinking about things at a much, much higher level, just doing things slightly different isn't going to help you have those types of results to double your business. So for me to be able to, grow my business as fast as I have, I've had to make these big, crazy goals and figure out the people that I was going to have in place, to be able to run a company that big. Like, you got to imagine what an org chart looks like for a $200 million company.
Mm.
And then what position am I missing right now that would be the very first one that I would hire for?
Asking that question.
Yep. Yeah, you got to ask yourself a lot of these questions. You got to break down the things that you're doing right now that are holding you back, the type of thought processes that are keeping you stuck. And I'm doing this every day. Like, the reason I was a few minutes late for jumping on our calls because I'm wrapping up a meeting with one of my advisors, and we're just trying to really break down these thought processes and the things that have us repeating these same patterns in my business. And as many good things as we have going on for us, there's these thought patterns and these behaviors and the organizational structure that's keeping us stuck, repeating very similar results, and we just can't figure it out. So how do we keep breaking these things down and looking at them, trying to see them from an outside perspective and what we're doing to ourselves, taking complete ownership? There's nobody else responsible for these results except for me. Now, how do I level up as a leader, as a business owner, as a communicator, to keep making the progress in the direction for me to make it past the ceiling that I'm at now? At every level, you're going to have to break through a ceiling of beliefs, of what you're capable of the messaging that you tell yourself every day about why these things keep happening and where you're at. And you got to consistently and constantly challenge yourself and your beliefs and where you're at and why you're getting the results that you're getting, and take 100% responsibility for it.
You mentioned the role of the advisor in that relationship. There are people that are listening to this that they don't have those people in their life. They don't have, Abraham Lincoln's Team of Rivals, the great book on the subject. I guess, first of all, what is it about you that you're open to that? And then if you're talking to yourself or someone that isn't, what's that conversation look like? So I get the first part, like what?
Yeah. I think I'm actually working with a friend right now that his business has done decent, and he's gotten comfortable, and he's never worked with an advisor. He's never came out of pocket with $1 to get advice from somebody, but he has tried to get advice from many places as he possibly can for free. And he's, he's a little tight, and he's a little conservative, and he's one of them guys that will haggle you down to the last dollar if you're trying to buy something. And then he's confused why he keeps running into all these customers that haggle him on every dollar, and why his business hasn't been able to grow, and what is he missing. And my advice was for him, after having a few conversations with him, was kind of harsh. And it's like, you got to get out of your own way. The reason you're running into a lot of these customers is your own fault. If you think about the way that you purchase, the way that you show up as a consumer, that is an exact reflection of who you are. I've known you long enough, since I was 13 years old, to know that you are about the dirtiest haggler I've ever met. And
We all got that friend.
You've got to be willing to separate with your money to have an opportunity to get more. And you can do it in a lot of different ways. But for me, I've found significant value in working with coaches, consultants, and advisors that has helped me reach the level that I've reached today, helped me stretch my vision, helped me build belief in myself. And some of these guys, they're good at also pumping you up and pointing out things that they see from their perspective about your leadership style, your communication, your ability to absorb information, to look at things and be able to pull apart and come up with solutions. Like, I don't look at myself that way. I'm constantly just hard on myself. And it's incredible to be able to have people in your corner that you would normally never be able to have access to, that are worth sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars, that can point out the things that they learn the hard way so you don't have to, and to be able to point things out about yourself that nobody else sees. But you can't gain access to those people unless you're willing to pay for it. And I've spent hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably getting close to the 7 figures over the past 5 years since I started, on coaches, consultants, and mentors. to help me continue to level up and to see things from a different perspective, and to give me the tools and the resources to be able to keep growing my business. And I wouldn't even be half as far as I am right now without that.
You have so much experience and wisdom in this realm. What, I've come across people that are afraid, like, to take that leap. What does the audience need to look for?
Yeah.
To have faith, I guess, in that person. Like,
I think a
what are
lot
the
of
red
people,
flags, like
100%. And I've heard
stories.
it so many times, because people admire that in me because they're scared to death to do it. And I think one of the main reasons is because you have to have accountability. Like, you go and hire somebody for $100,000 a year, but you're lacking accountability and discipline and good habits. Now you're under the fucking microscope from somebody that's a really high level, and they're not afraid to tell you how it is. And if you don't have your shit put together, nobody wants to jump on a call and just be told all the things they're doing wrong every week. But for me, that's what I thrive on. I want to hear from very high level people and people who aren't afraid to tell me how it is, how I show up for them.
Wow.
And the things that I'm missing, the things I need to work on. And it is freaking hard to hear. But how else are you going to level up unless you're willing to hear the shit that you're not good at, or that you need to work on, or that you just are completely overlooking? And I think that's maybe one of the biggest reasons why is the accountability aspect. And then also, if you were to make that big of a commitment, even if it was my very first consulting company that I worked with, first time I ever paid anybody to help me, it was $60,000. I was scared to death. I didn't even have 60 grand. He let me put it on a couple of credit cards and start making payments to him, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to pay for it. But the one thing that I had to come to terms with when I did that was there was a new level of commitment that I was going to have to come to terms with for me to be able to get the value out of that 60,000. And it was scary, and it was a lot of extra work, and there was a lot of new things that I had to implement because I didn't have the people in my business yet to help me implement those. I had to do it all myself. It was a huge level of commitment. There was a lot of accountability, and it was uncomfortable. But that year that I decided to pull the trigger on that consulting program, I grew my business from 2 million the previous year and grew by 500%.
Wow.
So I went from 2 million to 10.4 million. Now tell me what kind of return on investment that has for that 60 grand.
Unbelievable.
But most people won't be able to separate with their money to see past that 60 grand, to see that there's an exponential opportunity on the other side of it to the tune of 500% possibilities. And I could have wasted the opportunity and not been able to come to terms with extra effort and commitment that I was going to have to make the best of that. There was the accountability aspect that was uncomfortable, that a lot of people would fold under that pressure. But I just went all in, and I was determined to get and squeeze every last bit of value out of that engagement as possible. And it paid off for me. And now it's something that I've actively pursued every step of the growth of my business, is putting new people in front of these problems that I don't necessarily know how to get the answers to myself, but with a guy that's traveled internationally and worked with hundreds and hundreds of businesses from lots of different industries.
Wow.
This guy can offer perspective on my business that I can't bring to the table myself. And I pay this guy 10 grand a month to help me with my business and to do executive coaching with my team and work with outside vendors and help bring these new initiatives to the table and help us understand AI. And there's just these things that by yourself, you can't do these things. You've got to have access to resources, and these resources aren't free.
I wanted to segue into events and putting yourself in the room, because when I first met you, you stuck out like a sore thumb. You mastered that room. And there are people listening to this who may be apprehensive to go and put themselves in the room this year.
Yeah.
So let's say someone's going to take that leap of faith and invest in themselves, like you're so artfully expressing that they should, and just put themselves in a mastermind or put themselves at an event. How would you approach it if you started tomorrow? You went to an event with no, I guess back then, right? With not as much means, not as much access to resource capital. How would you approach going to that event? How do you get the most out of it? When you wake up, when you go to bed, are you working out? Are you not working out? Like, this is the masterclass on how to dominate an event. I was very impressed by you.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that. That had came from a couple of years of doing events, being a part of accountability groups, going to masterminds. And when I started, I certainly wasn't that confident. I didn't have that kind of presence. And
wow, that's hard to believe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I started as kind of quiet, and I'm just naturally introverted. I'm a private guy. But during those years, I was just so intentional about leveling up and surrounding myself with other people and seeing how other high level people operated, and taking these little things that I liked and incorporating them into my life. And I would encourage people that, it's, you can get value out of anything that you do. Going to a 10X Growth Con or the Real Success event that we were at that time was incredible. You've got these extra things that you need to do to be able to extract the value and take it home and be able to apply it to your business or your life. But for me, I think some of the most impactful things that I've engaged in have been these accountability groups, or like a mentor group that has weekly meetings, and they have action items every week. And then there's a level of accountability and reporting that goes along with it. So you start to develop some of these disciplines that if you were to go to an event, you've got some of this stuff built in to be able to extract value out of it. Because if you just start going to events, like I went on a kick for a little while, I was just going to events to go to events, and I loved it. And I loved marketing, and I loved hearing feedback like that. I heard it many, many times, Jay, that I would walk into a room and everybody's like, man, I just had to come introduce myself. You have such a presence.
Yeah.
And I fucking love that, dude. I'm a guy. Like I've got a lot of pride in how I show up for people. And that pumped me up to be able to show up in places like that. And I'm fit, and I got a hot wife, and people just had to come introduce themselves to me. But then what I started to miss was I had lost some of my discipline with taking my action items back home and applying them to my business. And it was more about just going to the events for the experience and the hype. And then it was, you show up differently for people in your business when that's the way that you're doing your events, and you're going to things, and you're taking time away from other important areas of your life for stuff that doesn't matter as much. So I've been to one event in the last year. I've been focused on taking all of my action items, all of my previous notes, and putting those to work in my business, and working specifically only with coaches and consultants that are going to hold me accountable. And next week, I got to answer to them about the stuff that I applied from our last conversation. Otherwise, I look like an idiot. It's like, why the hell are you even paying me if you're not going to take this stuff and start applying it to your business?
Wow. I did just one thing on that event side. I did notice that you would go up to people. I mean, not even experience. You were approachable, but you approach people. Yeah. So if someone's listening to this that does consider themselves an introvert, what's your advice to them and how to be that approachable person? Whether you're creating that energy where people coming to you, or you're going to people. Because I witnessed you going to people. You were selling. I mean,
yeah, it's not like I was.
So how does an introvert go about?
I mean, I wasn't selling any products. I wasn't there with any selfish intent. I was there to build relationships and to get out of my comfort zone and to be interested in people. And I built a lot of relationships over that year and a half that I was going to events, because I was just interested in people. I was just genuine, and I'm a good fucking person. And I wasn't there to sell anything. And as soon as somebody realizes that you're just genuine, you're asking questions about them, they just start opening up. And once you've gotten through the first couple of jitters of going and initiating a conversation, yeah, I mean, you don't have to be all that creative to go initiate a conversation. I just go stick my hand in there and say, hey, how are you doing?
Wow.
Good.
It's helpful. Jeff, also on that note about the event, I think that's a profound insight. Are the people do we become customers of the event, or are we like where then it distracts us from our actual business? So can you give some insight to our audience and how to juggle that, how to get the value of learning while not undermining one's business?
Yeah.
Because I see it, it's a natural thing, right? How do you can't build your business while you're in the classroom. So you have to pick, and then when. So what's worked for you? What hasn't?
Yeah. I think for me, one of the important things to consider here is that any event that you're going to has your perception of it is that it can help you bring value to your business, to your leadership skills, to your communication skills, something that you're intentional right now about leveling up. And then I go there with a notepad and with the intention of taking home action items that I'm going to apply to my life or my business. So that way, if you're not feeling good about it, if you're going to events just to go to events and it feels good and it's flashy and you're getting a bunch of hype out of it, but you're not taking anything home, just the way that you feel about it is going to rub off onto the other important people in your life. And they're going to perceive it differently than you need them to perceive it. But if you're showing up there with an incredible amount of intention and you're coming back with all this excitement, all the new things that you're working on and excited to apply to your business and your relationships and your leadership style, and you're talking about it openly, then everybody's perception of it is a whole lot different than if you're just showing up, flashy in your suit and you're riding on fucking private airplanes and shit like that. It does more harm than it does good for your business.
Powerful.
So you go out there and you find a couple. If you're in need of some direction right now in marketing, go find a boot camp that they're doing on marketing and do some research. Talk to somebody who's been to it and get a referral. Is this only a sales event? Am I going there just so they can sell me on their Nest package? Or is this something that just has an incredible amount of value that can help me level up my business, that I can take some action items home and apply them and to be able to level up? Whether it's marketing or sales or rebuttals, or you're trying to learn how to level up your call center business or retail, whatever it is, you've got to do the due diligence. Don't go just to go because it looks flashy and you saw an ad on Instagram. This is going to take time away from your family and your business. So you better damn well be intentional about the stuff that you're going to get from it, and put your action items and your notes together very thoroughly when you're there so you can get home and have some stuff to execute on. And that's why I haven't been to another event, because I had so many things to work on from the previous events that I'd been to.
Makes sense.
That I've just been going hard on all those things for the past year and a half.
How's that been? It's
been paying off, buddy.
Clearly.
Been paying off.
Yeah, no, that's amazing to hear. Because I see it all the time that ends up undermining people's businesses. And I think you got it down pat. So going back to early in the conversation, you mentioned learning from your people.
Yeah.
What has worked for you? What hasn't in learning from your people? Because it's not easy to learn from our people or maybe it is to some, but.
Well, I think for some it is. For some, it's really difficult because it's getting vulnerable. And for some people, it's tough to get vulnerable and to ask for advice and for opinions from places is kind of admitting that they don't know the answers. But the best leaders I know admit that they don't know the answers, and they give all the glory to their people. And they're just like the orchestrator and the visionary of it all. And then you just, wherever you can, you bring value and you gather information and you take somebody's opinion, you put your little spin on it and you turn it into something big. And whether it's opinions or ideas or somebody's previous experience from another company, I think that's something that I've been able to recognize through working with coaches and consultants. That is one of my superpowers, is just, I don't need to know everything. I don't want to know everything. There's some things I have no interest in. But what I can do is take somebody who brings something up, that brings something to my attention, that shows me an area that we could be doing it better, and immediately being able to find a way to take the stuff out that doesn't really have anything to do with our business and just extract the things that do and apply those, and to put the right people in place to help us execute on those initiatives and to put them in place, make sure that we have our SOPs in a duplicatable system. And the majority of all the best ideas that have been integrated into my business have came from my people. And if you're not open to those things, you're going to be stuck. Like, this is the same concept as using coaches and consultants. Like, first you got to admit that you don't have all the answers. And then you got to have those conversations and ask those questions to people and get vulnerable. And sometimes you're talking to people that are, like my assistant, the lady that orders windows for me. There's just been so many great ideas that have came from people that are at all different levels of the business, that you have to have trust in them. They have to have trust in you for them to be able to open up and have those conversations and share those things. Because it's also, I think I've seen a lot of different leadership styles and communication styles, and business owners have a tough time having those type of relationships with their people. But it's been so valuable to me. It's something that's worth exploring and worth putting some effort into.
Yeah. What do you say to this person listening right now and saying, that all sounds great, they just need to do what I tell them?
That's not going to work out well.
I mean, right. How do we wake that person up? Because they're listening, even if maybe there's a rationale.
Yeah.
Right. It's not an excuse. It's a rationale.
Yeah.
It's a fair, like,
it is.
There's a dumpster fire right now.
And you know what?
And I just
One
need
thing
to
that
do what I tell you.
I've put it soft so many times, and I don't think it helps anybody to put it soft. Like, some people just aren't cut out for this. If you're an asshole boss and you're more of a manager than a leader, you're probably not cut out for business ownership and being an inspirational leader, because you're just an asshole. And nobody is going to ever be inspired to do anything more than the minimums for you. And I used to be like that. But when somebody told me that that's how I showed up, and you got a smile, and look, what is that look on your face? I mean, you make everybody feel like that they're in trouble every time they see you. Every time I hear one of these pieces of feedback, it's like, fuck, I never want to make anybody feel like that again. What can I do today to start getting better? And I used to be that manager style in the position, and you got to do what I fucking say. And that's it. And that's that. And nobody's ever going to respond well to that. And unless you're willing to evolve and adapt as a leader and a communicator, you're never going to be able to do anything as a business owner. You're going to be stuck right there 10, 20 years from now, still doing the same exact stuff and complaining every step of the way why you can't find good people. There's no damn good people out there. Everybody's too busy collecting checks from the government. That's a crock of shit. And I guarantee that person is a terrible leader. Because I don't have a hard time finding people. We've got a great team, and we just continue to grow. And I continue to grow as a leader and get better at attracting even better people. But there are good people out there if you are in a place to be able to attract them. If you're not a good leader, you're not a good communicator, you don't know how to set proper expectations and give clear instruction and to be able to nurture these relationships, you're never going to be able to keep anybody decent. It's just the bottom line. And you got to start taking responsibility for
it. In closing, can you define or elaborate in how you view the responsibility or the roles, or what's the job of the CEO? And I asked that because I think you're the guy to explain it on this show. Like,
Yeah.
you're the CEO. How do you view your job? What's most important? What isn't? And,
I think I had a guy tell me once, I told him I was the CEO of JKR Windows. And his first impression of me was like, you are not a CEO, dude. You're not the prime example of a CEO in the corporate world. If you're going to call yourself a CEO, I would say that you're much closer to a chief excitement officer than a chief executive officer. And then, the more that I think about it, the more that I realize that I'm, like your traditional CEO, maybe I'm not. But the one thing that I do well, that I think is my main objective in this company, is managing the energy and the vision. So I am essentially the chief excitement officer of JKR Windows. Because there's a lot of things that I'm good at, but there is more things that I'm not good at. And I've just gotten good at inspiring people and casting a vision and attracting great quality people that can help me execute on my vision and my creative ideas. And sometimes that's what a CEO is. They're less of the operational type of mindset, and they're more of just a visionary and somebody who can inspire and communicate and, get people bought into the things that they're trying to do within that organization, whether it's a corporate type of setup, they're just the integrator style of person, or they're the business owner.
Jefferson, thanks for coming back. Any parting words for our audience?
Let's see here. Well, first of all, thank you for having me back on, Jay. It's always a pleasure. It's been too long since we got to catch up, so I appreciate you putting this thing back together. And if I had to say anything, I think, just from the feel that I get about your listeners, there's people that are stuck repeating the same patterns, and they come here to find some inspiration on what is something that I can apply to my business that can help me make a bigger impact. And it's not just all about money, you guys. It's about how do you level up to be able to make a bigger impact, to bring more value to your staff, your partners, and your family. This translates into everything else in your life. And there's no magic pill. There's nothing magic that you're going to hear here that is just going to change the trajectory of your life forever. It's going to take action. You find one thing that you got from this podcast and write it down as an action item, and write it in your goals every day, and make it a priority for you to integrate this into your business, into your personal life, into your leadership or communication style, something that you need to handle right now. And don't let it fall off the radar. Like, don't stop taking action in the direction of that goal or that action item until you've checked it off the list. You're not going to be able to do all of them at the same time. Just find one that you need to make progress on, put it on the radar, and start moving in the direction of that. And just make it a habit of, as soon as you get one done, you put another one in your sights and start working towards it. So often people have a habit of wanting to get things together, and they watch a podcast and they write 12 different notes down of all the things that they need to apply to their business. And then they go home and they start looking at that list, and there's 12 of them, and it's really daunting. And it's like, man, this is a big undertaking. And then they just revert back to doing their old behaviors. I heard somebody say something once about picking cotton. They ran a team that picked cotton, and they would look at this gigantic field, and they would all, you get overwhelmed with looking at this huge field and how much they had to get done before the season changed and before things got tough. And the foreman was an inspirational leader in the perception of the people, because he would inspire everybody every day by taking a stick and throwing it as far as he could. And he said, we don't have to do the whole field, you guys. Let's just make it to that stick.
Hmm.
And then the next day they do the same thing. So you got to be that inspirational leader for yourself. And you got to pick something you need to make progress on, overlook the mountain of shit that you would like to accomplish over your lifetime, and just focus on this one thing right now that you need to do. Go get it done.